I've said that there are many different considerations and that I do not intend to die there on the court. I hope not. And I'm thinking about them, considering them, and that's as far as I'll go.
Well, considering those reasons to leave the court, welcome back to ABC News Live. If you missed it, Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, you just heard there on Good Morning America, the most senior member of the liberal wing of the court, has announced that he will be retiring at the end of this term. As he told George Stephanopoulos there, he didn't want to die on the court, and he isn't. He's going to leave and leave a great legacy. So joining us now to discuss the short-term and the long-term impact of this announcement, John Bessler is law professor at the University of Baltimore School of Law. Professor Bessler, thanks very much for being with us. I'd like to start by asking you, even though another liberal judge is leaving the Supreme Court, the ideological divide isn't going to change because a liberal will replace Justice Breyer's liberal vote. But he was a particular kind of liberal, pragmatic and almost more moderate. How much do you think the court will change with President Biden's nominee, even though we don't know who that's going to be right now?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that Justice Breyer really served the court and the country with great distinction. And I think one of the things that Justice Breyer was able to do is he's so personal. He was able to bring people together to join opinions. And again, the court is a divided court, but Justice Breyer really articulated his positions really well on the court. And one of the things that I've looked at a lot, of course, is the death penalty and his jurisprudence related to that subject. But I think his legacy will be he protected women's rights, he protected voting rights, he protected the reproductive rights in this country for women with the recent decisions that he's authored. And he's going to be remembered for his dissent against the death penalty in a case called Glossop versus Gross as well in 2015.
When he joined the idea that the death penalty cannot be operated in a constitutional way, right?
Right. In fact, Justice Breyer had replaced Justice Blackmun on the court, and Justice Blackmun, way back in 1994, had famously dissented against the death penalty and said that he would no longer tinker with the machinery of death. And in the Glossop versus Gross dissent in 2015, Justice Breyer really articulated a number of reasons why the death penalty should be declared a cruel and unusual punishment under the Constitution. He said, number one, that convictions had become unreliable, and we've seen a lot of wrongful convictions and people sent to death row who were actually innocent, including a man in Maryland named Kirk Bloodsworth, who was a former Marine who was wrongfully convicted and spent time on death row. He also said that the death penalty has become very arbitrary. And if you look at the statistics, he broke it down into looking at what counties are actually using the death penalty. And he discovered that there's really a very small number of counties that are accounting for a large majority of the executions in this country. And then thirdly, he looked at the prolonged time that people are spending on death row, and is going to be known for dissents in that area as well, where people on death row now are spending 20, 30, sometimes even 40 years before execution or exoneration, as the case may be. Because again, we've had a lot of cases where there's been exonerations literally in the final hours before an execution had been scheduled.
And I met Kirk Bloodsworth once and interviewed him. It's a harrowing story, as so many of those are, of people released from death row after actual evidence of innocence is discovered. But I want to turn now, Professor Bessler, to President Biden's pledge to nominate a black woman to serve on the Supreme Court. How much of a difference can that make, and how do you think this process will go?
Well, I think there'll be the president needs to decide on a nominee, and that's the president's prerogative to pick whichever candidate he wants. And I'm sure he will interview a number of candidates before he makes that decision. And then I think it'll probably speedily go through the Senate Judiciary Committee, which is the committee that looks at nominations. And again, we've become very familiar as Americans with Senate Judiciary Committee hearings, and the senators will get a chance to ask questions of the nominee. And then there'll be a vote for confirmation of the nominee. And so, again, that process, varies somewhat in terms of how much time it takes. But I'm sure that there'll be a sense of urgency to make sure that the court has a full contingent of 9 people on the Supreme Court.
So, Professor, what potential does this retirement have to change or reshape the court dynamics? I mean, it doesn't change the balance in any way, but it sure will change the chemistry.
Yeah, I think anytime you have one new person in a group of 9, right, that's bound to change the dynamics of the Supreme Court, just because there's a lot of personalities in the court, and there's some strong personalities in the court. And so I think having somebody like Justice Breyer, who was able to bring people together on certain issues, at least, was very important. It's important to have somebody that understands the pragmatic consequences, the real world consequences of the decisions. And I think that that's something that Justice Breyer, as part of his legacy, will be known for. And of course, he was also known for giving speeches a lot about the Constitution, writing books about the Constitution. And that idea of informing the public about what this document means and what it stands for and the rule of law and justice is really important. And I know that, frequently he would debate Justice Scalia. They had a very different judicial philosophy. But I suspect that President Biden will pick somebody obviously more in line with Justice Breyer's judicial philosophy than Justice Scalia's. That's for sure.
All right, Professor Bessler, we just saw Stephen Breyer being sworn in as a justice of the Supreme Court by Justice Scalia. They were adversaries legally, but close on the court and off the court. And it is something to behold, right, and something that helps the court and the country a little bit. We'll see if that tradition can continue. Professor John Bessler, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.